What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Warriors Report. It's time to talk about how the Phoenix Suns losing is going to help the Toronto Raptors. Now, I think it's fair to say that no one had predicted the outcome of yesterday's game between the Dallas Mavericks and the Phoenix Suns. Many fans, like myself, had expected to be a very close, tight game, but it completely shattered anyone's expectations, and the Suns had scored a total of 27 points at the half, for crying out loud. That was a very poor performance from the Phoenix Suns, but this is going to be beneficial for the Raptors, and I'm going to break that down for you in today's video. So if you're ready to watch this video, guys, make sure to hit the like button. Let's get this video to 100 likes. If you want to hit the subscribe button as well, that'd be very much appreciated. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. Now, as you guys know, I do like to give out shout outs on my channel, and for today's video, the shout out goes out to Greg Brown. So Greg, thank you so much for supporting this channel through your likes and comments. It is very much appreciated. Now let's talk about the Phoenix Suns, because they've had a very poor performance against the Dallas Mavericks, and Luka Doncic's laugh tells you everything, and that performance is going to lead to some changes in the offseason, particularly perhaps Deandre Ayton, and of course the Raptors could use a center. So let's talk about Deandre Ayton to the Raptors, but I quickly want to touch on this as well. Basketball Forever had suggested that this was apparently, it's rumored that Monty Williams asked Deandre Ayton if he even wanted to play anymore, and Ayton said nope. So this was apparently during the game, and of course that interview that followed in the post game was huge, because the reporter was asking Monty Williams about Deandre Ayton, why he played 17 minutes, and Monty Williams did not even let the reporter finish his question and cut him off and said it's internal. So obviously the Suns don't seem to be very high on Deandre Ayton, and the performance they had yesterday has just lowered his value a lot, which makes him a little bit more affordable to get for a lot of teams, particularly the Raptors, who could be in the market for a big man, because obviously they got tortured by the 76ers and particularly Joel Embiid in this year's playoff. But when we talk about Deandre Ayton, it's important to highlight some of the context of what I'm talking about. Now, Deandre Ayton wanted a 5-year max from the Phoenix Suns after last year's final performance, but let's talk about this particular article, because I wanted to highlight the bottom part of this article. So in recent weeks, Phoenix raised the concept of a shorter maximum contract deal, perhaps over 3 or 4 years instead of the full 5 years, but never formally made the offer. Broach the idea again, sources say. So the Phoenix Suns, this is October 18, 2021, by the way, did not even want to offer Deandre Ayton 3 years. What does that tell you about how high the Phoenix Suns are on Deandre Ayton? And obviously, we know the NBA is switching from, your traditional big man to shorter, more mobile big man. So I think this really diminishes Deandre Ayton's value in the free agent market. Now, he is a restricted free agent, meaning that the Suns could match any offer. They could also sign and trade as well to any team, depending on what the offer is. But talking about Deandre Ayton, and I wanted to highlight this in particular because the Raptors do need a center, but they also need one who can somewhat get his own baskets. And I wanted to highlight this part of his stat here. When you take a look at percentage of field goals assisted, you take a look at this season, and Deandre Ayton, under 2 points, he had about 80% of his field goals assisted, which just kind of shows he can't really generate much offense on his own. And this isn't good for the Raptors if they do potentially look to acquire Deandre Ayton, because outside of Scottie Barnes and maybe Pascal Siakam, the Raptors don't have a great passer like Chris Paul. As great as Fred VanVleet is, he's not known for his passing, and we won't be able to involve Deandre Ayton or even get him more baskets. So although his statistics may look impressive, when you take a look at his stats this season, it's 17 points, 10.2 rebounds. He's been obviously a beast on the rebound end as well. He's been averaging a double-double ever since he came into this league. But the fact that we have to take into consideration, he might not be averaging the same amount of points because we don't have a Chris Paul. As great as Scottie Barnes is, Chris Paul we know is great at getting big men involved, and perhaps his stats diminish. Now, does that mean that the Raptors shouldn't look at potentially acquiring Deandre Ayton? I don't think so, but it's not going to be as easy as many fans may think. Yes, his 3-point percentage looks great, but look at how many attempts he's taking per game, 0.3 attempts per game. Again, I'm not trying to diminish Deandre Ayton. I think he's a solid player, but for him to ask for a max contract, I don't like when players do that for one particular reason. If you take a look at max guys like Luka Doncic, Giannis, you don't need to say that you need a max contract. I know a lot of players do this to raise their value, but it's completely shattered his value, if anything, because the Phoenix Suns just didn't want to give him that money. and it just looks bad on his part more than anything because now he's not even going to get anywhere close to that. But I wanted to highlight this. If there were, let's pretend for a moment that the Suns and the Raptors were to discuss a sign and trade during this offseason of sending DeAndre Ayton to the Raptors. He currently made $12.6 million in this season, so obviously he's going to get a raise, and it's fair to assume he's probably very likely to get paid anywhere from around $17 million to perhaps even maximum of $25 million. So if the Raptors do a sign and trade, I want to highlight the Raptors salary cap situation as well. You do have to match salaries, and for them to really trade someone that makes 17 to 25 million, you're likely going to have to include one of Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby. I don't think the Suns will take Fred VanVleet because they obviously have Chris Paul and Devin Booker, and it wouldn't make sense for them to really acquire Fred VanVleet. But if I'm a Raptors fan, I'm not doing this deal at all. Gary Trent or OG are off the hooks, but realistically, you do have to get something to get something. And personally, I'm not doing that deal because I think the Raptors could find another big man that could give you a double-double and do similar things to DeAndre in as a much cheaper cost, in fact. So I don't know if it's worth the price of getting DeAndre in, if it includes paying him that much money and also just giving up one of Gary Trent and OG Anunoby. Now, I know fans will suggest you can throw in Kent Birch, sign and trade Chris Boucher, guys. That's realistically not going to happen. The Suns aren't taking that deal. Even if you throw in Malachi Flynn in a first-round pick, that's not going to happen. I've seen all sorts of trades online, and I just don't see a deal happening between the Suns and the Raptors where they sign and trade and acquire DeAndre, and it's just not happening because the Suns obviously want something back. They're not just going to let DeAndre Ayton go in. I don't know if it's worth that much money. And I really do say that because although the Raptors are known for their defense, if anything, this playoffs has taught us is that you need shooters and you need guys who can get their own baskets. So sure, the Raptors do need a center, and sure, DeAndre Ayton is a good rebounder, but not for the price we may have to pay to acquire him. Personally, I'm against the idea of acquiring him just because I feel like there's better options out there. I know I've suggested some names like Rudy Gobert, and a lot of people didn't like that, obviously, and him too. I think he makes way too much money, so I don't see a deal happening, but I just don't think it's a great idea for Raptors to lose some of their offense while acquiring a center who can't score. So it's just going to make their offense that much worse. And like I said, guys, your defense could be as great as it can be. The Raptors are a great defensive team, yet they allowed the 76ers to score many, many points in this playoff series. We saw few games where the 76ers had scored 130 points and the Raptors barely crossed the 100 mark. So I think as great as your defense need to be, you also need some guys that can get some baskets as well. Even the Milwaukee Bucks, look at them yesterday. As great as Giannis was, as great as Drew Holiday has been in the playoffs, they need some guys that can get their baskets. Defense is great, but you obviously need to get some guys that can put the ball in the basket. And personally, again, like I said, guys, I'm not willing to give up OG or Gary Trent who can get their points for someone like DeAndre Ayton who gets 80% of his points assisted on two-pointers. So again, I do want to hear from you guys. I know a lot of Raptors fans are high on acquiring DeAndre Ayton. I do want to ask what you think the Raptors could potentially pay him and what they would have to give up in a sign and trade. So leave your comments in, or I should say leave your thoughts in the comment section below, but I do want to hear from you guys. And as always, guys, I do have a trivia question for you today. And that trivia question is, who is the leader in rebounds per game in this year's playoffs? Is it A, Jonas Valanciunas? Is it B, the MVP, Nikola Jokic? Is it C, Rudy Gobert? Or is it D, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak? So whoever answers this trivia question correctly first in the comment section gets a shout out in my next video, guys. So thank you so much for watching this video. You can follow me on Instagram as The Warriors Report, Twitter is Warriors, and that will be it for today's video, guys. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.